Yes, sir.
Thank you guys for coming. Today we're gonna talk about AI agents inside our environment. We're gonna use GitHub Copilot. We're gonna make some integrations with WorkQ, Foundry Q, and a lot of fun stuff. But first of all, my name is Talles Valiatti. I'm from Brazil. As you can see, my accent is not from America. If you guys do not understand what I'm saying, or if you have any questions, just type on the chat and then someone's going to read me, or I can read by myself. I am a Microsoft MVP. I live in Brazil as well, as I said. I am actually an electrical engineer, but since I got my graduation, I started to work with IT. I used to be a developer. Actually, I am a developer sometimes. I need to code some stuff. But today, my main focus is it's working as a cloud developer advocate. I work for one of the biggest Microsoft partners in Brazil. So basically, my role in the company is to promote my company, go to events. Actually, I'm in São Paulo, Brazil. Tomorrow, I have a big event to go to be the main structure. I'm gonna present as well GitHub Copilot for some customers, and I'm always traveling to Microsoft Brazil headquarters to present stuff, to make some sessions, webinars. So I'm doing this right now. And I also had the opportunity to go for Houston, Boston, and Atlanta last year to speak. So I made good friends with Paresh, with Damu in Boston. So thank you for accepting me here. And I am also in the YouTube as well with some friends. Was every 2 weeks actually we make some live and explain some hype technology, Foundry, GitHub Copilot.net as well. So I'm going to put the links on the chat in the end of the session. So that's it. So let's go. A sec. So today we're gonna, I prepare a demo for you. So we're gonna integrate our GitHub Copilot for a specific web API that I created in .NET. But the main focus of this demo today, this session today, it's to explain how we can integrate GitHub Copilot with our enterprise environment. When I say enterprise environment, that means Azure environment, Microsoft environment. So we're going to integrate our GitHub Copilot with Microsoft 365. We're going to use WorkQ to make this bridge. We're going to integrate with storage account, Microsoft Foundry. So I have prepared a good demo. It's not a small one. It's a little complicated, but we're going to do that. It's going to be fine. But first of all, let's understand what means WorkQ, okay? Just let me put the link on the chat. So guys, if you guys have any kind of questions, just ask in the chat, okay? So basically, I have a Microsoft 365 account in my company, and I have data scattered across my tenants. For example, I have emails, I have Teams message, I have SharePoint, I have Microsoft Loop data. So basically what the WorkQ does is consolidate all this data, and this data is accessible through HOA or MCP or even REST API. So I can ask in natural language for my WorkQ layer, say, hey, what is my next meeting, for example? And the WorkQ is going to respond in natural language as well, using my, as a user, personal data. So basically, that's what you need to understand for now for this demo about WorkQ, but you have the official docs on the chat. So if any questions, you can ask me, or we can talk later, maybe in a next section, okay? So that's the first part. Let's keep in mind. WorkQ work as a knowledge layer that's going to use my personal data for retrieve me things about my 365 data. Let's talk now about FoundryQ. WorkQ and FoundryQ as well with FabricQ and now WorkQ belongs to what we call Microsoft IQ family. So basically, it's layers of abstraction that serves data, and this data can be used by agents or even users. So we have talked about work queue right now, but now let's make a little. Uh, oh, so I can hear me.
Yeah, I think Ming has a thing. I'm going to make her an attendee. I'm going to mute her. Okay.
Yeah. So Foundry queue works pretty much the same as work queue, but Foundry queue is aiming to retrieve enterprise data. Foundry queue works on top of the Azure resource called Azure AI Search. It's pretty famous, this resource in Azure, but now they have reshaped this Azure resource to in order to provide AI tools for agents. So Foundry queue runs over the Azure AI Search. So basically, I can connect knowledge source into our Azure AI Search, and then I plug this Foundry queue or the Azure AI Search into our agents. So we're gonna do it with GitHub Copilot. That's pretty nice. So let me explain another thing that's pretty important. Inside the Foundry queue, we have what we call agentic retrieval. Do you know RAG? So we have docs, and these docs is splitted, and then we make chunks with the ports, and these chunks are stored in a vector store. And with this data, and LLMs, large language model, can enhance the knowledge about some specific subject or even with private data. That's what we call RAG. But now, inside the Azure Search, inside the Foundry queue, we have the agentic retrieval. That means that what I'm showing here on this slide. Agentic retrieval means that we can send a big query for our Azure AI Search, and that Azure AI Search is going to split this big query into small queries, and each query and each small query is going to be sent for a specific one or more specific knowledge source in order to retrieve little parts of the scattered data, and this data is going to be grounded and it's going to be merged into a single final response. It's pretty complicated. There's a lot of docs, there's a lot of samples, and I have done something for you. Let me get the links. So here I have the official docs for Foundry Q. If you want to go deep, feel free to ask me, or you have the official documentation. That's pretty good. But I also have recorded a video in Seattle. I had the pleasure to be in the DevRel studios in Redmond, Seattle this year, and I recorded about Foundry Q. It's in Portuguese. I don't know if someone here speak Portuguese, but you can easily translate. It's pretty nice. And if you don't want to see the video, I also have articles about Foundry Q. This one and that one that's about Azure AI Search. Let's go back for our slides. So we have a working queue working with our personal data that you can access through MCP. And we also have Foundry queue data that's aiming for gathering enterprise data and service data through the Azure AI Search. That's pretty nice. Let's go for our demo. Let's go for this slide. It's a little complicated, but let's break it down. We're gonna have a web API. That's a order API that I can order things, computer parts, and I can say, hey, I want to buy a laptop or a keyboard or a mouse. So I can do it on my application. I'm going to in just a few minutes. We're going to use GitHub Copilot as a coding agent for that solution. And the GitHub Copilot is going to be connected in two solutions. The first solution is going to be the work queue. The work queue is going to receive data, it's going to carry data from my personal data, from my personal account. And this data could be team message and emails, for example. So let's go pretty easy. I have my code here. It's our Word API. I'm going to show how can make posts here in order to buy stuff. But I have a friend, and this friend sent me a message on Teams. Bruno Brito that works with me is also another Microsoft MVP. Said to me, "Hey Talles, for the orders API you are building, we need to implement a discount based on the final total amount calculated from the sum of each product multiplied by its quantity. Sorry about saying this here. This really should have been consolidated into a proper Azure DevOps tickets, but it wasn't. We definitely need to improve that on our side. So Bruno Bit sent me a message. I can say, hey, GitHub Copilot, I can copy here. I can copy and paste inside our GitHub Copilot, but would be awesome to have this connection between GitHub Copilot and my personal account directly. So I know that Bruno sent me this message, but how many messages have I missed about Orders API? I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 or 4. Would be awesome to have someone that look through my entire personal data and say, hey, people are talking about this, about your Orders API, and we need to implement this. Bruno also sent me an email, say, hey, Talles, still regarding the Orders API, we also need to include the open telemetry monitoring. This is what a lot of code, a lot of text here, but we need to implement two things here. The first one, we need to implement this discount part, and we also need to implement the open telemetry monitoring. Let's go for the slides. How we can make this connection? Can use, if you see on the official documentation, that you can use the CLI for that. So you have the WorkIQ CLI, and I'm gonna type WorkIQ space S space dash Q, list emails in my team, list emails and team messages related to Order APIs. Show all content that only Bruno Brito has sent me. If I type enter, I'm going to send a message for the WorkIQ knowledge layer. WorkIQ is going to research, is going to carry my entire personal data, looking for some specific data related to the Word API that was sent by Bruno Brito. Just let them wait some minutes. So basically, we're going to have 2 retrieval data, one coming from the Teams, Microsoft Teams, and another one coming from an email in the Outlook. Let's see. Any question, guys? Just let me know. Yep, look at that. So we have here team message. Say, hey, Talles, for the Orders API, but another the same message exactly. And the second one comes from the email. Look at that. So I know what I need to implement, but I don't know how. Okay, I can implement the discount on several ways. I don't know the business logic behind the discount, and I also can implement the open telemetry in several ways as well. But how are we gonna implement that? I know what to do, but I don't know how. We're gonna implement based on documents that's scoped for my company. So let's go for Microsoft Azure. So here I have a resource group. Inside this resource group, I have a storage account. And inside this storage account, I have containers. And inside the containers, I have 2 containers, one for business logic and another one for development patterns. For the business logic, I have one document, just for a sample. And this document has, look at that, discount business rule. If I download here and see, look at that. This is what Bruno is calling me to implement. Hey, we need to implement discounts based on some specific rules. And this rule is not on the teams. This rule is on official docs that is inside my storage account, okay? And I also have another document inside the development docs. And this doc, look at that, tell me how to implement, guess what? The open telemetry. So basically here, I know what to do from data coming from our work IQ, my personal data, one from Teams, another one from Outlook. And I know how to implement that based on official enterprise docs inside the storage account, okay? The tricky here is how I can get this data, fetch this data into our GitHub Copilot, okay? In order to do that, we're gonna implement Foundry IQ, the Foundry IQ layer. So basically, we're gonna have one Azure search. This Azure search is on the free tier, but if I need more compute and if I need more storage, I'm going to scale up this Azure search. And the first concept that's very important for the Foundry IQ is the knowledge source. If I click here in the button Add Knowledge Source, we're gonna have a lot of sources. So I can have data coming from the Azure Search Index, the internal Azure Search Index. I can get data coming from the blob storage, coming from Azure SQL database, coming from the Microsoft Fabric, coming from SharePoint, or even another MCP, or even coming from the web using Azure Bing, Microsoft Bing. In that case, I created two blob storage knowledge source. And look at that, guys. I know, whatever. Forget what I'm going to say. Basically here, I just selected the subscription. I select the storage account. I have selected the blob container. And then I say, hey, you can import this data. So every time that we connect knowledge source to our Azure Search, that comes from the storage account. The data is chunked, and this data is parsed into chunks, into vectors. And these vectors are stored here inside our indexes. So basically, I have two documents, two containers, and I have two knowledge source. And for each knowledge source, I have one index, one for business logic docs index, another one for developing docs index, okay? So I have the data now. I need to carry the data. I need to create what we call knowledge bases. Inside the knowledge base, it is where we implement the agent retrieval. So if you go back here, that we implement the agent retrieval. But first, the agent retrieval use under the hood one LLM in order to perform two actions. The first action that LLM performs is break down the big query into sub-queries. So in order to do that, we need to create what we call Microsoft Foundry, okay? Basically, Microsoft Foundry is a part of the Azure that is aimed for deploy LLMs, create agents, everything related to AI, basically. So in here, in the build section, I have deployments, and here I have one LLM, GPT-5 Mini. So this is a private LLM, it's token-based, so I'm going to pay for input and output tokens, and I can use internally in my account, inside my Azure AI tenant, inside my Azure tenant. So basically here, let's go back for the Azure search. And I have two knowledge sources as well, knowledge base as well. I have one knowledge base for business logic, and I have another knowledge base for developing docs. It's a simple demo, but I could have one knowledge base with several knowledge sources, and for each knowledge source, I could have several original sources, like several files, or even a lot of tools coming from MCPs or whatever. So let's click here in business logic knowledge and knowledge base. And look at that, guys. I have the description. The first thing say, hey, this knowledge base has information about order API business logic. This knowledge base has just one knowledge source, could have more than one. And here, look at that. I have output configurations. Say, hey, in the end, I want that you use the GPT-5 Mini in order to consolidate into a final natural language response. So I know that this file over here have business rule for discount. So I can type in here, let's see, show me the discount rules. So the knowledge base is applying the agent retrieval. The agent retrieval is breaking down this little query into one or more data source. In that case, it's just one source. And this data here comes from my file. Pretty nice, huh? It's basically a super powerful RAG. But if I type here, hey, give me info about, I don't know, Azure AI, no, whatever, SQL Server. That information is not present on the file. So my knowledge base do not know what to do here. So there's no relevant content. No relevant content was found for your query. So the knowledge base is aimed for query specific data. Okay. Let's go back here and go to another knowledge base for development. So if I go here, let's see the original file, open telemetry guidance. I have downloaded here. Look at that. If I just type here, so basically it's the same thing. The description just changed for knowledge base that has development documentation for internal project that we have access to for just one knowledge source. And if I type here, how to implement OpenTelemetry. The knowledge base is going to implement agentic search inside our knowledge source, and it's going to fetch information coming from the original doc. So let's see. Oh, a lot of stuff. Let's see. So I have basic information. I also could have this question here, like, well, how to implement open telemetry. Give me C# examples. I have C# examples over here. Look at that. Oh, that one. Also, this is C#. This is C#. What else? I don't know. There's a lot of C# code here. So let's see what it's going to show me. C#. So I can't carry the data. That's pretty good, huh? So now we have the worker queue working and the Foundry queue work as well. So now we need to integrate these two sources into the final GitHub. But there is a little thing here that I need to show you. Just give me a sec. Look at that. I cannot use the Foundry queue directly, not for now. We need to create a middleware application. And that application is going to use the Azure AI Search SDK in order to communicate with the Foundry queue. So I am not give permissions to the GitHub Copilot use the Foundry queue directly. The Foundry queue is going to communicate through MCP for a custom MCP server that was written in C# with .NET. And that custom MCP has access to the Foundry queue through the Azure AI Search SDK. So let's go back here for our application. I have a folder here called .vs code. Inside this MCP.json file, I have two servers of MCP. The first one is the worker queue MCP, and the second one is pointing toward my docs.mcp, and that's the custom MCP server that I have built by myself. And if I go here on the files, I look at that. I have the Nuggets package for Azure AI Search. So basically, it's a web application that's configured to be an MCP server, and that application has two tools. One of them is specializing in carry data from the business logic, the business logic knowledge source. And another one is aimed for carry development docs. Basically, is that I have the full configuration done here. Basically, I have the knowledge base for business logic and development, and this application is running. Okay, that's pretty important. So here it's running. It's binded in the port 5145 localhost, and is also running here for my MCPs. Let's go back here and let's interact with our GitHub Copilot. First thing, let's repeat this work AQ carry inside our GitHub. GitHub Copilot, I am using you as agent mode, and I am asking you, use the work MCP to list emails and team messages related to the order API. Show me all content that Bruno Beto has sent me. Show the full content of each item. So basically, I'm doing the same thing here that I had done on CLI, but I'm using inside my GitHub Copilot. I'm doing that using the MCP. So look at that. The question is made. Let's see what we're gonna get. Any question, guys? Oh, look at that. We got the email content that is coming from the Outlook, and also got the team message coming from the Microsoft Teams. Okay, I know what to do, but I need to know how to do. I'm going to use the another MCP right now. So use the enterprise docs MCP to find out how the discount should be applied to the order total in the order API. So in that case, the agent, the GitHub Copilot, is going to use another MCP it's basically a custom.NET MCP that is running inside my local machine. And that application is going to use the Azure Search SDK in order to carry the Foundry queue and the knowledge base, knowledge source, and in the end, the files inside the blob storage. Look at that. I have the discount matrix. That's basically the same thing here. Look at that. Oh, pretty nice, huh? And I know now what to do. I know what to do. I know how to do. I can basically, hey, implement this. Let's see what you're gonna get. Really easy, huh?
You make it look easy, dude.
So there is no special business rule. Basically, we need to just apply the discount. So GitHub is going to do that for me. Look at that. I have compute stuff. I have the DTOs. Let me close this. I have DTOs. I do not know if you guys work with C#, but it's pretty basic stuff here. It's not a big deal. So what else? We're gonna have the C#. Look at that. The C# business rule for the matrix. Could be better, of course. Could be better. I could have agents. I could have skills for that. But for now, it's just a demo. I just want to make sure you guys understand integrations. For now, it's completely fine. Oh, that's done. So the first mission was done. So now you need to go for the second one, the open telemetry specification. The open telemetry specification is coming from the email, basically. So, okay, I know that I need to implement the open telemetry, but I do not know how to implement this. So let's close this. I have a little doc here. What is that? Let me copy this, let me paste. I am saying to the agent mode, hey, use also the enterprise docs MCP to find out how to implement the open telemetry in the Word API. Get code examples, create activities, open telemetry full configuration, custom response patterns, etc. Show me the full content of each item implemented. All endpoints must be traced. So I don't know if you guys know what is open telemetry. Basically, is a standard and open source platform for monitoring, tracing logs, metrics that we can use in several applications, several languages. So it's like a pattern, and you can integrate with Elastic Cloud or with Datadog. What else? A lot of resources. So look at that. We are carrying the MCP tool. I aimed for development docs. And it's going to call the knowledge base and then the knowledge source and then the original file. The file is this one here. Look at that. So the GitHub Copilot is getting official enterprise docs that belongs to my company, my fictitious company. And then with all of those information, he's going to implement this inside my code. So basically, we are integrating what to do coming from the worker queue and how to do coming from the Foundry queue. I could also mix with agents, with skills, or even standards and patterns that belongs to my own code base. I don't know, can do a lot of stuff here. So look at that, guys. We are implementing this right now. If you see this configuration of OpenTelemetry, tracings and metrics, you're gonna see that's pretty similar to this part over here. Look at that. Let me zoom in on this. Tracings with metrics, basically the same thing here. So we are using the patterns. Any question, guys? Let's see
You must be
if
doing
I
well,
was.
man. No. We are monitoring the chat room, so don't worry.
So there is a specific thing about GitHub Copilot and other code agents that I really love. That is the agentic loop. So basically, he's getting information in order to implement something. He implements that thing, and then he validates what he has done. So basically, I got an error over here. He has identified that he made mistakes. He corrected himself. So basically, things are getting ready here. Oh, look at that. It's done. So I don't know, 5 minutes, we have to implement the discount rules and the open telemetry in our web API pretty easy. And the most important part, we are using enterprise docs inside our enterprise tenant, using enterprise layers, enterprise abstractions, Foundry queue and worker queue, integrated with enterprise coding agents. That in that case, I am using enterprise GitHub Copilot. I'm not using my personal. So everything belongs to my enterprise, my fictitious enterprise in that case. And we are doing a lot of this in our company today, a lot. This is a little sample that I have done. I don't know if you guys have any questions about this, but there's a lot that I want to show you in the next sessions if I got this opportunity, Paresh. And that is that, guys. I have done this demo for you. It's complex. I have shared some links for you. I have official documentations on the chat. What else? If you guys have any questions about this, I have a video explain everything about FoundryQ. I also have articles about FoundryQ. Next week, I'm going to start a webinar in Brazil, in Portuguese, sorry, about GitHub Copilot that we are going deeper inside how we can properly implement GitHub Copilot inside our solution. So if you guys are interested on that, you can participate. It's going to be Portuguese, but When it goes for YouTube, you can easily translate. We're gonna have demos, we're gonna have explanations, and we're gonna break down a big course into a little webinar. So it's going to be, I don't know, five or four episodes explaining every single part of the GitHub Copilot, how you can use, instructions, agent skills, MCPs. Probably I'm going to show this as well, implementing WorkQ and Foundry Q along with Foundry Q, along with GitHub Copilot. So there's a lot to show. Hope you guys have enjoyed. And we have 30 minutes left.
No worries. So if anybody has questions, I can unmute you guys. We are a small group here. I can actually stop the recording now. But I also sent just a few minutes back the link for our YouTube